Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, drop a comment telling me which artist you think is dominating K-pop in 2026, and share this video with your fellow K-pop fans because what we're about to talk about today could genuinely change the landscape of the entire industry. Don't say I didn't warn you. Stay until the very end, because the last piece of information in this video is the one that could make everything click into place. Okay. I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now and really pay attention, because the convergence of two forces in K-pop right now, one already a proven record-shattering soloist, and one rapidly evolving girl group, is setting the stage for something that the industry has genuinely never seen before. And I'm not here to sell you dreams or speculation wrapped in clickbait. Everything I'm about to tell you is backed by verified data, confirmed announcements, and actual chart history. So let's get into it. Let's start with Jimin, because you cannot have this conversation without understanding just how astronomically dominant this man has become as a solo force. When BTS announced their temporary group hiatus back in 2022 so each member could focus on solo projects and complete their mandatory military service, a lot of people wondered, can these guys really hold the world's attention on their own? Jimin answered that question so definitively that it's almost embarrassing how hard he crushed expectations. His debut solo album Face in 2023 didn't just perform well, it made him the first Korean solo artist in history to reach #1 on the Billboard Artist 100. That's not a K-pop chart. That's the main, all-genre, American music industry chart. Number 1. Korean solo. First ever. And if you think that was the ceiling, what happened next is the part that will make your jaw drop. In July 2024, while Jimin was literally still completing his mandatory military service, Big Hit Music released his second solo album Muse, a pre-recorded project that arrived without him being able to do a single live promotion, no talk show appearances, no in-person fan events, nothing. And yet Muse debuted at #2 on the US Billboard 200, making it the highest charting album ever released by a K-pop soloist on that chart. The lead single, who debuted at #1 on both the Billboard Global 200 and the Billboard Global excluding US simultaneously, the first K-pop solo song in history to achieve that double #1 debut. It then spent over 33 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100, climbing to be one of the longest charting K-pop songs on that chart alongside legendary tracks like PSY's Gangnam Style and BTS's Dynamite. The album itself spent 80 consecutive weeks on the Billboard World Albums chart, the first and only K-pop solo album to ever achieve that. The title track, Who, has since been confirmed as the fastest K-pop song to reach 2 billion streams on Spotify, doing so in just 427 days. And at the Billboard year-end charts for 2025, Muse, a 2024 album, was still ranked #1 on the top 10 world albums of the year, a year and a half after its release. This isn't longevity. This is dominance. And here's what makes all of this even more mind-blowing. Jimin said in a recent Rolling Stone interview that he never expected his solo career to grow this fast. He said he was sincerely grateful, and that the one thing military service taught him was to approach music creation without fear. Now he's back. BTS reunited in 2026 with their fifth full-length album Arirang, released on March 20, 2026. The comeback concert at Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul, the first time all 7 members performed together in nearly 4 years, was streamed exclusively on Netflix and drew 18.4 million global viewers on a single live stream, reaching the Netflix weekly top 10 in 80 countries and #1 in 24 countries. The Arirang album debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200 with 641,000 album equivalent units in its first week, the largest week by units for any group since Billboard began calculating units in December 2014. BTS then launched the Arirang World Tour, spanning 85 dates across 34 cities from April 2026 all the way through March 2027. Jimin is now operating at a level where the word peak doesn't even apply, because every time you think he's reached one, he redraws the ceiling. So that's one side of the equation. Now let's talk about the other. BABYMONSTER. If you haven't been paying close attention to what this group from YG Entertainment has been doing, you've been sleeping on arguably the most exciting girl group story to emerge from K-pop since Blackpink. BABYMONSTER officially debuted on April 1, 2024, with their first EP Babymon 7ER, and the debut was anything but quiet. Their title track, Sheesh, charted on Spotify's Daily Top Songs global chart for 71 consecutive days and remained on the Billboard Global 200 for 14 weeks. For a debut from a brand new group, that's the kind of opening statement that sets the tone for everything that follows. They then came back with their first full-length album Drip in November 2024, and before that, a standalone single, Forever. The group is made up of 7 members: Ruka, Farida, Asa, Ahayan, Rami, Chiquita, and Haram, and every single one of them brings a different kind of energy that makes BABYMONSTER feel genuinely multidimensional in a genre that can sometimes feel formulaic. They completed their first world tour, Hello Monsters, which took them across North America and Asia in 2025. They performed at Japan's massive Summer Sonic Festival in 2024. They signed a collaboration with Uniqlo's UT line in early 2026, a fashion milestone that put their image alongside global pop culture icons. Then came their second mini-album We Go Up in October 2025, featuring the single, Hot Sauce, which dropped in July 2025 and immediately showcased what makes BABYMONSTER so hard to ignore. They're equally comfortable being bombastic and fierce as they are being melodically refined. And now, 2026 is shaping up to be a year where BABYMONSTER doesn't just grow, they erupt. On May 4, 2026, they are releasing their third mini-album titled Sichoom, which means dance in Korean, and YG Entertainment head Yang Hyun-suk himself described it as something with a slight edge and coolness that fans have never heard from the group before. Quote, a BABYMONSTER album you've never heard before. A second single is set to follow the album, and beyond that, and this is where things get truly massive, BABYMONSTER has confirmed a second world tour for 2026 to 2027 spanning 5 continents, including Oceania, Asia, Europe, North America, and South America. And as if that wasn't enough, YG has confirmed that a full-length debut album is being targeted for October 2026. So within a single calendar year, BABYMONSTER will release a mini-album, embark on a multi-continent world tour, and potentially release their first full studio album. That is a schedule built for a group that's ready to stop being called a rising act and start being called a dominant force. Now here's the question everyone should be asking: what happens when these two forces occupy the same cultural moment? And I want to be crystal clear here, there is no confirmed collaboration between Jimin and BABYMONSTER. None. I'm not going to invent one for your entertainment and then walk it back in the comments. What I am telling you is that the conditions for something extraordinary are aligning in a way that is genuinely rare in K-pop history. Think about what's happening simultaneously right now in April and May of 2026. BTS is on the Arirang World Tour, with Jimin performing live for the first time as a group member in almost 4 years. BABYMONSTER is in the middle of their Sichoom comeback rollout. Both are under the umbrella of the same South Korean entertainment ecosystem, both are pushing artistic boundaries in ways that complement each other, and both are fighting for the same global audience, an audience that, crucially, tends to get bigger the more cultural conversation gets generated. K-pop thrives on events. On moments. On the kind of cultural collision that makes people who had never paid attention to Korean music suddenly stop scrolling. And here's where the real conversation begins about breaking K-pop. The phrase, breaking K-pop, doesn't mean destroying it. It means going so far beyond what the industry has defined as its own limits that the entire frame of reference has to be rewritten. BTS did that. Blackpink did that. And the data suggests that Jimin, purely as a solo artist, has already begun doing that again, because what he's accomplished on Billboard, on Spotify, on streaming charts globally, while being physically unavailable to promote his music, is genuinely unprecedented. When who became the first K-pop solo song to debut at #1 on both the Billboard Global 200 and Global excluding US at the same time. That wasn't just a personal achievement. It was a structural shift in what the industry considers possible for a Korean artist without a Western label or Western promotional machine behind them. And BABYMONSTER, stepping into 2026 with a world tour on 5 continents and their first full studio album incoming, is building the kind of global footprint that could make them the defining girl group story of the next 5 years. There's also something else worth paying attention to, and it's a story that's adding emotional weight to everything BABYMONSTER does right now. Member Rami, the group's main vocalist, has been on hiatus since May 2025 due to health issues. She has not been part of promotions since then, and BABYMONSTER has been promoting as 6 members. In December 2025, YG released the music video for Supa Dupa Love, a B-side from We Go Up, and the video ended with a mysterious young girl watching the group through a window, a detail that sent the fandom into a spiral of speculation and hope about Rami's potential return. As of now, YG Entertainment has not officially confirmed when or if Rami will rejoin activities. But the question of her return is hanging over the CHOM comeback like a storm cloud that could either clear or break. If Rami comes back for CHOM, it will be one of the most emotionally charged K-pop moments of 2026. And if she doesn't, BABYMONSTER will have to prove, again, that they can carry the full weight of a world tour and a major album campaign without their main vocalist. Either way, the stakes couldn't be higher, and the eyes of the entire K-pop world are watching. What makes this moment feel so singular is that you have 2 narratives: Jimin's triumphant return with BTS and the ongoing legacy of his solo dominance, and BABYMONSTER's ascent from promising rookies to a group preparing to conquer 5 continents, both reaching fever pitch at the exact same time, in the exact same year. The Arirang World Tour runs through March 2027. The BABYMONSTER World Tour 2026 to 2027 runs concurrently. The global K-pop audience is going to be presented with simultaneous proof that the genre can produce both veteran artists capable of reinventing themselves and breaking records after years away, and new artists capable of building global empires from scratch in under 3 years. That combination is what could truly break K-pop open for a new generation of listeners, not break it apart, but break it wide open. Crack the ceiling so wide that the genre becomes something the entire world has to reckon with, not just the dedicated fanbase that already loves it. So the question isn't really whether Jimin and BABYMONSTER will collaborate. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. The question is whether you're going to be paying attention when K-pop rewrites its own rulebook in 2026. Because based on everything the data is telling us right now, that's exactly what's about to happen. And you're going to want to say you watched it unfold from the beginning. If you made it this far, you are a real one. Thank you so much for watching until the end. This is exactly the kind of content I love making for you. Now go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below telling me, do you think BABYMONSTER is ready to be the next global K-pop phenomenon? And are you an ARMY, a Monstie, or both? Subscribe if you haven't already because we cover K-pop news, breakdowns, and analysis like this every single week, and share this video with someone who needs to know what's happening in K-pop right now. I'll see you in the next one. Annyeong.